Hello everyone, welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you more on the Sheriff Youngblood closing the Ridgecrest Jail and putting all of our lives at risk, news of an arrest by the Ridgecrest Police Department, news from China Lake, a recap of Saturday's Republican debate, more turmoil coming out of the Iowa concerning the Democratic caucuses, today's gas prices, weather, sports, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News Crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitney. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. Well, if you remember, last week we reported that Kern County Sheriff has approved the closing of the Ridgecrest Jail. I had a chance to interview Supervisor Gleason about this cut, as it was reported in other media that he had seconded the motion to make the cuts. He provided a correction to the story. The supervisors did not determine the cuts the sheriff has proposed, he said. The supervisor approves a cut in all departments across the board. The sheriff department got cut approximately $1.2 million. Gleason says that the sheriff, as a separately elected official, decides on the cuts he's going to make. Gleason told me he has challenged Sheriff Youngblood's advertised cost savings. He does not believe they are correct. When to cut funded positions and just move them to other funded unfilled positions, the only thing being cut is positions that are already needed and filled. It's a shell game the sheriff is playing. While he is cutting positions, he is playing politics by closing facilities that don't have to be closed. He could instead have just unfunded the empty positions elsewhere. Gleason said he will try and put pressure on the sheriff to not close the jail. This move will put all of our lives at risk, and no other cuts the sheriff recommended affect any other city as it does Ridgecrest. The decision results in our officers having to book prisoners in Mojave instead of here, thus taking an officer off the street for a minimum of 3 hours every time this happens. And I have learned since last week that often the Mojave jail won't take the same prisoners they currently take in here at Ridgecrest. This will result in the officer then having to continue on to book the prisoner in Bakersfield. My source told me as much as half of the prisoners could result in the trip to Bakersfield. Chief Strand estimates the loss of officer coverage here in Ridgecrest could be the equivalent of 2 full-time officers per year. And when these officers are gone, we are at risk. We are then short officers to handle calls for service. And just what happens when a call goes out for a serious crime and there is only one officer available to respond? That puts the officer at risk and puts the victim's life at risk. And by the way, this affects our local sheriff's deputies the same way. They too will have to trudge to Mojave to book their prisoners, thereby netting the same problem for coverage for the county areas of the valley. This decision has got to be reversed. The mayor has invited the sheriff to come here for a town hall discussion. We'll have to wait and see if he accepts. Call the mayor, city council, or Mick Gleason in the meantime. Here is Sheriff Youngblood's direct email address if you want to contact him. None of the other cuts he has proposed affects any city like this one does. No other proposed cuts effectively reduce the city's police force by 2 officers for a year. All the other cuts just shifts people around, thereby reducing some sheriff's coverage, but none affect the city's direct manning level. Let him know that this is a wrong decision, that you will not accept a decision that unfairly targets only the citizens of Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. Ask him, why does the city that is the furthest away from support get the cuts that limits the support the most? Call Mick Gleason, the mayor, and city council members and tell them to fight this decision. Heck, tell your neighbors too. This is an urgent situation. Once this jail is closed in less than 2 weeks now, it will probably never reopen again. And speaking of police and jails, we get this report of an arrest from the Ridgecrest Police Department. The suspect arrested was Jeremy Neonich, a 32-year-old white male adult. Here's what happened. Last Thursday, February 4th, at about 14:30 hours, Detectives Cushman, Groves, and Officer Harlow of the Ridgecrest Police Department went to 142 South Sunset to conduct a probation search on Jeremy Neonich. During the search, they located the following: a .22 caliber rifle with silencer, extensive amounts of ammunition in various calibers, several syringes to inject methamphetamine, and approximately 15 grams of methamphetamine. Based on the amount of suspected methamphetamine found and other violations, and the totality of the circumstance, Detectives believe Neonich possessed the drug for the purpose of sales. Since Neonich was a convicted felon and prohibited firearm possessor, Neonich was additionally charged with being in possession of ammunition, being in possession of a firearm as a felon drug addict, and being in possession of a silencer. Neonich was taken to the soon-to-be-closed Kern County Jail, where he was booked and incarcerated pending bail. And now we share this report from the Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake, California. They are starting Exercise Solid Curtain 2016. It will be conducted on all naval installations throughout the continental United States starting February 8th through February 11th. This annual event, geared to enhance the training and readiness of Navy security personnel, is not in response to any specific threat, but is regularly scheduled for practical exercise and learning. To comply with exercise objectives delineated by Fleet Force Command during Solid Curtain, an ever-increasing security posture at NOS China Lake is expected to be implemented throughout the week. Random anti-terrorism measures will increase during the week, which may cause delays at the gates. At one point during the exercise, community badges may not be accepted for access to the station. Sierra Sands Unified School District has been briefed about the exercise and is prepared to carry out its plans for getting students attending Richmond Elementary and Murray Middle School to and from the base. If access is curtailed due to the force protection conditions, information will be posted on the SSUSD website. Exercise updates will be posted on the NOS China Lake Facebook page when activities start impacting the employees, residents, or visitors to the base. You may also call the NOC information line at 760-939-1887 for access status. General questions can be addressed to the NOS Public Affairs Office at 760-939-1683. Now stay with us. After the break, we'll talk about the presidential campaigns. Thanks for staying with us. In presidential campaign news, last Saturday we had another Republican debate. It was hosted by ABC News. It was in Manchester, New Hampshire. ABC extended invitations to the following candidates: Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Ben Carson, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, and John Kasich. The debate was moderated by World News Tonight anchor David Muir and Martha Raddatz. Additional questions came from WMUR political director Josh McLovin and conservative journalist Mary Catherine Ham. This was an important debate for the three governors, Bush, Christie, and Kasich. All three are all in for New Hampshire and want to make a move into the top four. So there was anticipation as to how they will probably attack the frontrunners, Trump, Cruz, and Rubio. Well, the headline of the debate was that Rubio really fell down. He was attacked by Christie as to his never take responsibility Washington politician's stance. The attack was definitely won by Christie, that had Rubio actually repeating a canned speech 3 times. Each time it was almost word for word a repeat, and he was so flustered he even repeated it in part 2 more times during the rest of the debate. The only other heated exchange was Bush attacking Trump over eminent domain. Trump, who had been very calm and non-confrontational during the debate, lashed back at Bush. His strong response to Bush was met with some boos from the audience. Trump handled those booing very sharply. He looked at the cameras and announced, "For all you watching at home, the booing is coming from paid lobbyists and big campaign contributors trying to control these candidates and the election. Since I," meaning Trump, "am not controlled by them, and I refuse to take their money, they are trying to defeat me." Most pundits after the debate said he handled that very well. The moderators really tried to get all of them to attack each other more than it happened. Cruz and most of the other candidates maintained a decent civility to each other. But as expected, all 3 governors tried real hard to get noticed. And they went after each other and Cruz. However, none of them, except Bush, seemed ready to attack Trump. Carson did criticize Cruz's campaign in Iowa. The internet swelled during and after the debate in searches of Trump's position on immigration and other issues. But Carson stayed with his soft and slow delivery. And internet polling immediately after the debate showed Trump winning the debate by a small margin. As we head to tomorrow's New Hampshire vote, which is the first real vote versus caucuses, This morning's polling has these results for New Hampshire. Massachusetts News has Trump at 34, Rubio at 13, Cruz at 13, Kasich 10, Bush 10, Christie 5, Fiorina 4, and Carson at 3. Monmouth has them at Trump at 30, Kasich at 14, Bush and Rubio at 13, Cruz at 12, Christie at 6, Fiorina 5, and Carson 4. On the Democratic side, they show Massachusetts News has Sanders at 56 and Clinton at 40. Monmouth has them Sanders at 52 with Clinton at 42. Pundits are all standing by to see if the candidates either fall short or exceed the polling. Pollsters were real concerned because of the way the results came out from the Iowa caucuses. They are hoping that they get back to correct predictions, or they may have to regroup and come up with some better metrics for doing their polling. Anyway, by Wednesday, we may have a whole new course to talk about as we follow the elections. Will Trump win in accordance with the polling? If he does, how about the next 4 positions? Or can someone again surprise the polling and beat Trump? Will Sanders win in the accordance with the polling, or will Clinton pull out a miracle? This is an exciting race. In about 1.5 weeks, the next election will be in South Carolina. As a side story about Iowa and the Democrat race, it is being reported that many precincts there are being recounted, and that so far, Clinton's lead has been reduced to only, get ready, 0.025% of a difference. That's 1/4 of 1 point. That every recount is resulting in a catch-up by Sanders. Some people working in Iowa are even speculating that with the recount still going on, it is possible Sanders might pass Clinton. This has the Clinton campaign trying to shut down the recounts. Leaks from inside the Clinton headquarters is that they are in turmoil. And further criticism is coming from pundits that the Democrats will not release the actual vote numbers. The DNC has stated they never release those numbers. But a news researcher has found that they did release the numbers back in 2008. He actually held up their official release form from a previous election showing the numbers. So they are suspecting this is just more of the DNC, or a Clinton supporter and DNC chief Debbie Wasserman Schultz, attempting to control the campaign for Clinton to win. They don't want the real numbers disclosed, showing Clinton may be weaker than she already appears. So the heat continues. Well, what did you think of the 50th Super Bowl on Sunday? That was quite a game. The Denver Broncos defeated the Carolina Panthers by a score of 24-10. Not many people expected the Denver Broncos to walk away with the win. The game featured the number 1 offense, Carolina Panthers, against the number 1 defense, Denver Broncos. The only part of the game the Panthers won was the coin toss. Denver scored on a field goal on their first possession and never looked back. They turned it over to their defense, which then scored the first touchdown of the game. The Panthers just could not get going. The Bronco defense just kept hammering the quarterback. The Panther defense did a reasonably good job too, though. They got to Manning a number of times, but the Panther offense just did not get it going. Turnovers were an issue for the Panthers. The Broncos capitalized on almost every turnover. While the Broncos also made some turnovers, the Panthers didn't capitalize on those. Manning got his 200th win. This is an NFL record. The pregame show was much to my liking. Lady Gaga did a beautiful national anthem. The halftime show was just okay for me. It was geared to today's rock young generation. And there were those Super Bowl commercials. Well, it's reported that this Super Bowl, a 30-second spot, sold for $4.5 million. I have to pick Jeep commercial and the Heinz commercials as the best of them. Budweiser gets mentioned as a good ad as well. There were at least 4 commercials. I struggled to even know what product they were advertising. Really? While they appeared clever and entertaining, I don't know what the product was. I think it was because some of the commercials were targeted for the millennials. Maybe they got the point of the commercials, but I didn't. Anyway, football is over for another season. 6 months to next season. Now in KZGN continuous effort to provide news and information you've asked for, here are today's gas prices for Ridgecrest and some surrounding areas. Well, since my report on Friday, gas prices everywhere have held steady. Local prices held steady as well. However, Ridgecrest still has the lowest prices in all the areas we're monitoring. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $2.39 to $3.09, Lancaster from $2.53 to $2.89, the LA Valley area $2.43 to $2.59, and the Bishop area $2.72 to $2.99. We have 4 stations coming in at the $2.39 amount. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for updates. We at KZGN always suggest you shop locally to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you're helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. Now stay with us for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Now here's Lane with the weather.
Thank you, Tom. From the National Weather Service, a powerful low-pressure system located off the New England coast will continue to bring accumulating snow from the New York City metro area to Boston, with blizzard conditions likely over Cape Cod into tonight. In addition, a second storm system is expected to develop and intensify on Tuesday. This system will bring another round of snowfall accumulations from the mid-Atlantic to the northeast. Temperatures across the nation: Carolinas at 48, Georgia at 52, Arkansas at 46, Northern Texas at 51, New Mexico at 52, and Los Angeles at 81. And for us locally, tonight, clear with a low around 43, south wind 10 miles per hour. Tuesday, sunny with a high near 74, south-southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tuesday night, clear with a low around 41, east wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 74, north-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low around 39, north-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Thursday, sunny with a high near 74, north-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 40, east-southeast wind 5 miles per hour. And Friday, sunny with a high near 71, north-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that is your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tom.
Thanks, Lane. Now here's Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Monday early evening. Let's talk about local sports. Burroughs High School basketball. The girls team had a big win Friday night. They defeated Serrano here in town. They beat Serrano by 8 points. That puts Burroughs a number 2 team in the league with 1 game left. Now, if the Burroughs can beat Sultana Wednesday night over in Hesperia, Burroughs will be the number 2 team as we start the playoffs for next week. Now, the big difference about being 2 and 3 is if you're a number 2 team, there's a very good chance you could get a home game in the first round of the playoffs. That's huge. A 3 team, no chance. A 3 team would be put on the road against a better opponent. So that was a big win for Burroughs. The JV girls also got a nice win. They've had a very good season. They have 1 game left. They'll play Sultana on the road on Wednesday. All right, the boys team, they lost to Serrano. The boys trying to pick up their second league win, their last game of the year. They'll play Sultana right here at Burroughs High School. Legendary Larry Bird, who coached Burroughs High School and also at Saracosta for many years, is the assistant coach over at Sultana. He helps out there part-time. His dad is actually his son is actually the principal over at Sultana High School. All right, the big junior high school tournament, the winter annual tournament, boys and girls at Saracosta this weekend. Congratulations to the Monroe 7th grade boys. They had a nice win over Murray for the trophy. The Cal City 8th grade boys had a great win over Monroe. That game came down to the overtime, the last shot of the game. And in the girls' play, Trona, the Tornadoes, get a win over Murray. This is the last regular week of high school basketball. The Trona Tornadoes have a very, very good chance of getting a very good seed in the playoffs, as right now they're the number 1 team from the High-Low League. All right, the Super Bowl. Kind of. Peyton Manning, what a way to go out. I'm glad he had a great game like that. The 39-year-old, although quiet about what he's going to do, this would be a good time to step out. You can't get any better than that. Talk about defense. Wow, they just shut down Cam Newton in Carolina. Carolina really had a hard time just getting anything going offensively. Great pressure the whole game. Give credit to Coach Phillips, the defensive coordinator for Denver. Boy, he put together a great plan. They shut down the attack of the pass game. Newton had a hard time just finding any receivers open. Boy, what a nice win for Coach Kubiak and Denver. It was Coach Kubiak who was fired 1 year ago, almost well, it was not to the day, but he was fired a year ago as the coach of Houston, and now he comes back and gets a nice win. He always said that in the NFL, there's not always a tomorrow for every coach, but if you work hard, good things will happen. Well, Ted Kubiak did a great job this year. He deserves Coach of the Year, in my opinion. All right, Derek Fisher, talk about coaches fired by the New York Knicks. Surprising. I thought the Knicks were a lot better this year. Carmelo Anthony has a good attitude this year. I thought he was doing a very good job over there. They're over 500, but Phil Jackson, former Lakers coach, the GM of the Knicks, also, he was the coach of Derek Fisher. Derek played for him. He fired Fisher the other day. Kurt Rambis will be the interim. Dennis Rodman told Jackson he's interested in the job. Can you imagine Dennis Rodman out there on the sideline with all the tattoos and everything else he has on? Should be interesting. All right, also in the NBA this weekend, the Clippers, Miami, Boston, and Denver and Orlando all get wins. Orlando had a nice win over the Hawks, and the Clippers had a nice win over Miami on Sunday. The Clippers are now 34-17. They've won 9 of 10 on the road. Boy, they're awfully playing well right now, and Doc Rivers has all those guys going on full cylinders, so to say. Look for the Clippers this year to go far in the playoffs. That's your sports on this Monday. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. Also, KZGN-TV, know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We also thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay tuned for Ridgecrest Talk coming up next.